Have you ever watched your retriever struggle on something you know they can do, and immediately the thoughts in your head are, well, maybe my dog just isn't that good? Well, let me tell you something that changed my entire perspective as an amateur retriever trainer over the last 36 years. I have personally watched some of the greatest retrievers in the country look completely average in training. And today, we're going to talk about why that matters and how misunderstanding this one little truth is why so many handlers lose confidence in great dogs. All right, everybody, welcome back. If you run AKC hunt tests or even field trials, this is the conversation you need to hear. Because one of the biggest mental traps in retriever training is this. We expect great dogs to look great every single day. And when they don't, fear and panic comes right over you. We tend to overcorrect, or we try to make things worse. And we start doubting the dog. But here's the reality from decades of being around high-level retrievers. Great dogs are not perfect. Not in training, not in trials, not even when you run them in national level events. The career-changing realization. I remember the moment this really hit home for me. I was watching truly elite dogs with resumes, titles, performances that most people only dream and read about. And in training, those dogs made mistakes. They hunted wrong areas, they missed birds, they looked confused. They looked just like most normal dogs. And I remember thinking, you know, this is that dog, the one everyone is talking about. But here's the key. On game day, they were incredible dogs to watch run. That contrast was profound for me because it forced me to realize something most amateurs never see. You're not watching highlight reels in training. You're watching the real development process. Even legendary dogs, they can have bad days. So let's put this into real perspective, if you will. At high-level training groups, pre-national setups, for example, you can have dogs with thousands of points, finalists in nationals in years past, even field champions, national amateur field champions, athletes that are at their top tier of talent. And guess what? They still struggle on certain concepts and certain marks, certain blinds, etc. They still have days where setups give them trouble. They still make decisions that look questionable. They still look fallible. And that is not a knock on the dog at all. Far from it. This is the reality of a thinking athlete working through complex problems. Your retriever is not a robot. They are a problem solver. And problem solvers don't look perfect while solving problems. The dangerous amateur mistake. Here's where amateur handlers can get into really big trouble. They judge their dogs based on one session, on one of the marks in that session, or on one bad blind during that session. One training day that didn't go well. And mentally, they jump straight to, he's not good enough. She's not progressing. We're falling way behind. Meanwhile, experienced trainers are looking at something completely different. We're looking at patterns over time. Because one mistake does not define a dog's ability. Even elite all-age dogs have holes in their training. Even national level dogs can make mistakes. Even the great ones have off days. Training versus game day reality. Another thing to understand is the difference between training performance and test performance. In training, we should be challenging the dogs. We expose their weaknesses. We create learning scenarios. And that means you're going to see some mistakes. In fact, if your dog never struggles in training, you might not be pushing their development far enough. So the best trainers in the country are not trying to make training look pretty and easy, far from it. They're trying to make the dog better. We're trying to teach. And improvement often looks messy. What this means for your hunt test dog. So what does this mean for you, especially if you're running a junior, senior, or master? It means your dog looking average sometimes is normal. Your dog struggling on a concept does not erase their talent. Your dog having a bad day does not mean they won't succeed in future hunt tests. Stop comparing your everyday training sessions to the highlight moments you see online or at a test. Because behind every great retriever are plenty of imperfect training days that no one talks about or films and puts on YouTube. So one of the most significant lessons in my training career was this. Watching great dogs look ordinary at times gave me more confidence in my own dogs, not less. Because it reminded me that mistakes are part of the process, not proof of failure. So the next time your dog struggles on a mark, a blind, or a basic setup, don't panic. Take a step back and ask yourself these questions. Is this a pattern? Or is this just a moment, a one-off? Because great retrievers are not defined by their bad days. They're defined by their consistency over time if you train that way. Let me give you some examples. I have had the pleasure of owning 3 incredible animals that have gone very far in the field trial and hunt test games. And one of the very first dogs that really opened my eyes to the joy of dog training and running in competition was a dog named Dust Devil's Black Blizzard. And he was the 3rd dog I owned, and this dog was just phenomenal. In fact, there's a few video clips on the channel that are impressive, and I'm going to show you this one in particular. This video, again, I was training with professional retriever trainer Bill Totten. We were in California. We're running incredibly long blinds, and I flew in for a couple of weeks during the winter trip, and I'm spending some time with them, and we have a lot of fun. And there's a lot of joking going around. But, you know, I told him right before I ran all this stuff, I says, I have never ran blinds this long before ever with this dog. And I really wasn't sure how to handle it. And he says, well, this dog is actually impressing the hell out of everybody because he's running all age class blinds, and he's only 2 years old. So that tells you this dog had some magic and was one of those rare once-in-a-lifetime dogs at running not just blinds but in marks as well. But this dog didn't look fantastic every time we took him out and trained, and I'm going to show you here in a video. But I mean, just to see a dog run that far out there, again, is just an incredible deal to run blinds. Now I'm going to fast forward to another video here, and we're going to take a look at how he struggled on a marking setup. We were doing singles off of multiple guns, land and water. And there wasn't a whole lot of cover there, but there was this incredibly deep ditch. And let's go to that video. If you come all the way down to the bottom of the 300 so videos I have on here, you're going to find, not that one, this one right here. So this video, again, was during that 2-week stint, and we're running a combination of land and water marks, and I'm not going to show you all the marks because we actually repeat a few of them. He does good on some of these marks, and there's a water mark that he didn't quite take enough water. He kind of skimmed a bit of water, so we reran that. But let me fast forward through the video here. And okay, so this is the mark that he did first. He had to cut the corner of this pond, and then we actually run another mark, and then we came back and ran that one again just to clean that up. So we run this mark, and we'll run this one up the gut again, and again so he got more water this time on this mark. You can see the white bumper on the other side of the pond, but that's not what I wanted to show you. What I wanted to show you was the last mark in the session, which is this one right here. You can see my cursor spinning around. There's a gun station way the hell up this mountain, up on the side of this mountain, and this deep ditch is in the way. I mean, I could barely see it, and thank God we were throwing white bumpers. Again, this is after he's ran 4 or 5 marks, and now we're asking him to do this. So Dusty initially takes off, and he pretty much is doing the same exact thing where most dogs have been doing. So they got this ditch in the way. So what side of the ditch are they going to go on? Well, his first initial thought was to just cross the ditch, come up to the gun station. So now he's behind the gun, and he's hunting behind the gun. So we opted to do just a simple beep, sit, no, here. No e-collar correction, no nothing. It's just a simple recall. So we're going to bring him all the way back in. And again, this dog is just a little over 2 years old. And I can't believe how fortunate I was to actually get this on videotape. So again, he's looking normal. So you might say, well, I'm thinking, God, is this dog actually going to be a good dog? Or, but he's only 2 years old, and he's struggling with these concepts. And most of you probably think, holy crying out loud. For a 2-year-old to be running that kind of setup is incredible. And this was 20 years ago. So now we just opted to throw another. We're going to throw it again. Shoot and throw again. So I signal. And these days we're just using primer pistols, so there's not a real big boom out there. But this time he got a better view of the mark. And on this day, I believe he was the only dog to actually take this line to this mark. A lot of the all-age dogs would run to the left side of this ditch and then out into the mark. But he was the only one that ran right up the gut of this long-ass single mark. And then he disappears, and you're thinking, oh, God, where is he? But look at the trees move. And then, boom. How in the hell did he know how to come out right there? I mean, that is just insane training right there. So he looked average, and then he looked above average. Now, did he win every trial he ran? Absolutely not. Oh, goodness, no. He did get some derby points. I did get an amateur field champion on him, which is a lot harder than getting a field champion because you have to have 15 points instead of 10. So an amateur field champion, you have to have a win, and you have to have 15 points. He did win with me running him amateurs, and he did win with me running him a 100-dog PRTA Open in Twin Bridges, Montana, when he was young. And he punched his ticket to go to a national amateur field championship. And that was the first time I've ever been exposed to that. And I probably screwed him up in the 5th or 6th series, only because I've never ran one before. But, I mean, he was an incredible animal. This dog went on to get Master Hunter. He went on to get his HRCH. And I bring this up to show you that during this discussion that we're having, again, he looked average on any given day, and he would plumb flat fail on some things. But the other thing I had an opportunity to do when I was training with professional retriever trainer Bill Totten is Bill had a high point open dog on his truck named Shooter. I believe it was Dust Devil Shoot the Moon. And I actually got a chance to train that dog in training sessions every now and then, not every day, but I mean, if Bill would let me, I would take the chance at not only running my own dog, but to make me a better amateur handler, to run other dogs on the truck. And again, that's why I preach to you, if you're going to train with a pro, if you can. Some pros are too busy, they got too many dogs, but if you can find a pro that will help you train your dog, that is a sweet deal that I would take all day, every day. But I watched Shooter in training a lot of times have difficulties just like what we saw here with my dog Dusty. And in fact, I remember running derbies with Dusty, and those days, open judges judged the derby. So they actually started the open on Friday and Saturday, and then they'd start the first series of the derby after that was over. And I usually was the one out there throwing some of the marks for the last series of the open. And I can't tell you how many times I've been able to throw marks in a trial and watch Shooter run and watch him do some of the things he did. And then I go back and ask Bill and find out how he placed. And, you know, he wasn't the cleanest dog every time we went out there, but he actually would make incredible decisions during a trial. And it usually earned him some kind of a placement on any given trial we ran with that dog. So that's just an example of the things that we're talking about in this lesson plan here for today. In fact, with the 2 young dogs I have right now, I have bad training days every now and then. And my wife will ask me, well, how did they do today? And I said, no, they look like crap today. But just because I had a crappy training session, you know, sometimes it's good to quit a crappy training session and then come back and then break it down into more consumable pieces and then try and redo that bad training session a couple of weeks later. So just because your dogs don't look perfect every single time, just because they don't pass every single hunt test you go to, doesn't mean they're not great dogs. It just means you have to be better at analyzing their training and their performances at an event and try and be more of a teacher than a punisher when you're out there training. Hope that helps. Now I want to hear from you. Has your dog ever struggled on something you know they understand? Drop a comment below and tell me what it was. And if you're serious about developing a confident hunt test retriever, make sure you subscribe, because in the next video we're going to talk about the most important skill in dog training: judging effort instead of just results.